I just want to make a couple of comments of my friend. Maman made it just now. This death threat issue that you raised, I think we all go through, who are in the battlefield, we all go through that cycle. 1996, when the Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination met for the first time in United Nations history, the comments that India needs to bring its act together on the caste-based discrimination. And they gave a very long recommendation list on the basis of what we recommended them. Most of our recommendations were accepted. And immediately, the New York Times and Toronto Star, they wrote a major article with my interview. The next thing happens is I get the death threats. To the extent that some of the RSS people called me and they said, "Do you know who am I?" I said, "No." He said, "I'm an RSS worker in Toronto, and I want to see you immediately." I said, "No, I'm on trip. I'm out of town. I will meet you again." "No, no, 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 you have to come as soon as possible." I said, "When I get a time, you will come, and I will keep you on my list." They tried to block the phone so that no other people can come and comment on my answering service. Then they gave the death threats. On the top of that, they followed me for some time. I didn't give a damn about it, because we're in the battlefield for justice. So these things, we should not take it to the heart. That's number one. If whatever that comes, it's a part of the territory. Yes. If you can't bear the heat, don't get in the kitchen. That sort of format is there, number one. Number two, as far as the resolutions are concerned, after 1996 resolution on Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination, another major committee was a Committee on Human Rights, that's civil and political rights. They endorsed all the resolutions which were recommended by the recommendations by the Committee on Caste-Based Discrimination, the Discrimination Committee. And then they gave some more recommendations. Then we proceeded to the next committee, which was Committee on Child Rights. There were tremendous amount of material came on that also, with the recommendation on child rights, bonded labor, child prostitution, and all these things. That went further. So there had been nearly about 4 major committees of UN who have given the recommendations. The question is, Indian government is in denial to say that this is not a race issue. They are trying to fight in a gray area, and they have been constantly arguing about it. We did tremendous amount of lobbying in Durban on this issue. And India, luckily, we pushed it to the 2 or 3 major European governments and Canadian governments on the issue, and we were on the track. Unfortunately, at the last minute, there were 10 resolutions which were not, they were deferred resolutions, and because of the shortage of time, they dropped all the 10. One of the resolutions was one of them. So the battle is not finished here. We had been recently to United Nations, and our friend Roy Brown, through IHEU and myself, we brought a very strong recommendation, resolution.
Somebody else a chance to say something.
Yeah, so no. What I meant to say is that I'm giving the message that it is not the end of it.
Yes.
Is that the resolutions in UN are going on very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions actually. The first one's for Satpal Mamanji, right? The debate on caste discrimination, racism, yeah, the differences, the subtleties, you impinged on that. Now, my understanding is in World Conference Against Racism in Durban in 2001, this issue, of course, came to the forefront, Is casteism the same as racism or what? There was a big debate about that. The question I want to put to you is, right, it is important for us in this country as well, because this equalities bill is going through. In Durban, the slogan that the Dalits gave was, "Caste is racism and more." That is how they cut through all the arguments that the Indian government threw at them. And I'd like to know your feeling on that, whether that slogan is okay, or whether we should be following that, or whether we can sort of modify it some way. And the second question I have is actually for Vidya Bhushan Rawatji, and also for Dr. Hindwan, right? Now, you've gone through various things that are available on piece of paper, I understand that the Indian government had abolished bonded labor 17 times on paper, right? But the reality, of course, is somewhat different, right? Now, one sort of throws up one's hand in horror, when you hear about some of the things, right? And one of the things that I heard about is that in the Indian Parliament, there are 100 MPs. Actually, they're criminals who have some very, very serious charges pending against them. Now, I just like to hear your viewpoint on what kind of democracy is that, that you have in India.
About the race and caste.
Yeah, I think Babu wants to take a break, and I think people here do want to take a break, but quickly dealing with the definition.
Right.
It's a lawyer's area defining what is caste, but the definition that has come out, because when we made a submission to the Single Equality Bill, we engaged the services of a lawyer, and Apurna Wagare, she's not here, she's gone. The definition that came out was that discrimination based on occupation and descent, that is loosely how it has come out. So it is a lawyer's territory, and that's loosely how it has been defined. Discrimination based on occupation and descent.
To answer your questions, you have told me that what has been Government of India doing. See, I would tell you, in most of these activities, behind these activities lies the economic and political interests of the powerful syndicates which are operating. These are non-state actors. So they are the ones who are complicating the situation. One, I am not taking Government of India as 10. But what I am saying, I have just told you what are the provisions available within the framework of the Constitution of India. So you cannot blame the government directly for that. There are a number of non-state actors which are very, very active in the society, like as you mentioned about the fundamental groups and so on and so forth. The second important thing, what was the question I've just forgotten? Second important thing, you said the number of cases have been running on the criminal cases have been increasing. But they've not been proved in the court of law. But that's a lacuna in the system, unless a person is being proved guilty in the court of law and all, he's got full rights to contest elections and come to the parliament votes. I think that's sufficient for you.
I think it's time for a break, We'll be taking others' time, if you don't mind. So, thank you all very much. I think this session is